All right, good afternoon, everyone. This is Martin Kraus speaking. I'm one of the InHand Network's sales managers located in Arlington, Virginia, just 30 minutes from our home base office in North America in Dulles, Virginia. And along with me, we have our VP of Sales, Kenneth Hunter here, who is going to be going over our new CR202, the portable 4G router. And I'll let Ken introduce himself here. Go ahead, Ken.
Thank you, Martin. I appreciate the time. Many of you have probably known or met me or heard about me over the years. I'm Kenneth Hunter, the Vice President of Sales for the Americas for InHand Networks. And I'm very happy to be here, very excited to be telling everyone about this product. I know it's been high demand. I've had a lot of questions coming in. We've had lots of pre-orders. It's just a very exciting time. And I'll let Martin take back over till it's my turn again, because everyone who knows me knows I've been patiently awaiting this product to come out.
Yeah, it's been a high demand product, especially on the Verizon side. A lot of our resellers helped us actually create it based on their demand from their customers. And what you're going to hear about from Ken are different types of target markets that this is going to be focused on, some of the product overview and features of this, as well as part numbers for ordering, what to expect in quantity size, cartons, packaging, what comes inside of it. And it's probably going to take just about 30 minutes, and then we'll kick off our Q&A from you guys. So feel free to throw questions our way in the chat, and we'll try to answer everything. We'll have some engineers at the end too to answer some more complicated questions if we run into it at the end as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Martin. I appreciate the introduction. I appreciate you covering the agenda. So let's talk about the target markets just for a second. InHand's got this new awesome CR202 product coming out. You know, it's got a lot of features. You've probably heard rumors, battery, Cat 6, all kinds of stuff. But the question, we're going to start by answering is, what are the markets? What roles does this fit, for your customer base, or if you're a business looking to implement something like this, how's this going to help you? So the first and primary target is small business networks. What does that mean, Ken? Small business networks, that's a pretty broad general term. Well, when we say that, we're talking a lot about the SMB style, small convenience stores, catering, those little fruit shops, the little hot dog stands that are all over New York where you can get you something good to eat. I mean, they need network connectivity. In today's day and age, you can run a business on cash only, but for, POS systems, for tracking inventories, we live in a digital age today. Definitely on mobile stores, it's very popular that you're going to want to be able to show where's the current location. Are you open? Are you closed? All this data has got to get out to the internet one way or another, right? And InHand wants to help enable that. So what type of problems do these small businesses, and we say small businesses instead of just SMB because they could be small components of, some type of franchise. Well, traditionally, what we've seen in the back end is 4 particular problems, right? When I talk about a very broad sense, the first is, how do you deploy retail network quickly? All right, I'm gonna say that again. How do you deploy it quickly? I think everyone here has had an experience where you contact your local cable company, your provider, your Comcast, your Cox, whatever. Hey, I'm opening a business. Hey, I'm opening a site. Hey, I need network connectivity. Well, that could be a 1, 2, or 3 week process. I know when we opened our facility in Northern Virginia, I believe it took us 2 or 3 weeks to get the cable internet connected. So if you're opening a small business, those weeks and weeks of delay to get your connectivity up, it can be a crucial issue with your deployment, with your opening, with managing your business. And we all know that first segment of the launch is usually one of the most critical for cementing your brand or your new location. And again, within that, you might also want to deal with multiple networks. So if you have existing infrastructure, how do you safeguard keeping it up quickly? The other piece is how to keep crucial networks stable. Again, I mentioned credit card readers, POS systems, right? There's nothing worse than going to your favorite business, your favorite small business, and you're going to buy something. And I'm sorry, we're doing cash only now. The network's down, the credit card reader doesn't work. So much lost revenue, lost trust in the brand. I mean, the list goes on. The critical components of what you need for your local business regarding networks and connectivity, this is another major issue. Number 3, How to get a better network service, okay? Just because you have network connectivity, all right, maybe your POS system's working, right? It doesn't use much data, it doesn't need much speed. But again, if you're facilitating other services, if you have a business that relies on, again, maybe a camera providing some type of video service locally, right? If you need anything that has more network or a more complex network setup, how do you provide a better network service? And some of that can be from a technical standpoint, or some of it can be from cost effective standpoint, as far as what are the costs of upgrading your network? What are the costs of setting up a redundancy or reliability, right? How do you improve the actual quality of your network service? And then the last and probably the most common one I hear every week is either they don't have professional IT personnel within their staff, because again, we're talking about small businesses here, right? Or they have a guy that has some understanding of small business networks, right? But it's a very limited amount. He has a limited amount of bandwidth. And usually he's very, very, very busy. So expansion becomes either a very large operational expense to hire on more IT people, right? Or all those things we just talked about in suffering network service and reliability become part from the IT management role. So again, this fourth piece we want to bring to the table is how to reduce the workload of current IT personnel, or allow people with, not as much IT certifications and experience that traditionally cost more to be able to provide more and more of that role. The second target market space is business office networks. So Ken, you just talked about business networks before, right? Which was more focused on retail, but now I'm talking about office, okay? And I think most of us living through the COVID years and the current State of the Union we have today have seen a lot of new changes and a lot of needs to what we would consider are normally our office networks. So 4 problems, 4 is the magic number, okay? How do you keep office network for business travelers? If Brian Buckley, for any of you who know him, was on here, he's a road warrior professionally, foremost, and thereon. The man travels 3 to 4 days a week, all year round. Okay. So as a company, as InHand, how do we enable someone like that to always have connectivity? And I don't just mean on your cell phone. How do you allow him when he gets to a hotel where the network connectivity is not good, right? Or when he's sitting in the airport, right? And he needs to have stable, consistent, predictable Wi-Fi because maybe he's participating in a webinar, right? Again, these are all considerations. How do you take care of those business travelers? And probably many of you attendees have faced those challenges personally. I know I have. Number 2, how to obtain that long-term network for people working outside, construction workers, people that aren't actually physically in an office. They're on the move, they're mobile, they're working in an outdoor environment. They need to pop up a network connectivity so they can do what they need to do and they can move on. Number 3, how to get office level network or office quality network at your home. So many people, so many businesses, personnel in this country have went to full remote work or hybrid work. Well, as much as we being in the businesses, right? Business owners, business managers would love to say, well, just use your home network, right? I think we all know the reliability and what comes out of that. It's relying on an employee's space, if they'll even allow it and not press back, is a challenging complexity. Not to mention security, right? If you want to segment networks and you don't want the same thing that's accessing your private company's infrastructure, right? You probably don't want it also being used at their home, right? So you can have company computers and tablets, but ideally you'd probably want to have a company router with a dedicated network that belongs and can be controlled, and security can be maintained by the corporate or company entity. Okay. And then last but not least, again, many offices want to reduce the IT personnel network experience relied. I don't think many people have ever went to an office and said the internet speeds and the functionality of the network are as good as I can ask. I've never heard that. So again, this is a problem set that always carries over in all business types. So with that said, okay, Ken, you've rambled on and on and on and on and on about this market and that market, and what are the problems? So what does InHand bring to the table? Okay, well, it is the 202 launch, but before I dig into all those feature sets and how it's providing feature and functionality to solve the problems we just talked about, I have to talk a little bit about the portfolio and where does the CR202 fit in? Some people have asked me, Ken, why isn't it called the IR202? That's a great question, right? Why the new two digits, right? Well, our portfolio for the most part on a router standpoint is broken down really into 4 segments. Our more IT enterprise centric products, such as our edge routers or our outdoor units, the ODUs, these are cloud centric devices. They're made to handle a lot more traditional stuff you'd find in an enterprise IT environment. Okay. We have our developer series, full operating systems that you can load any programs you wanted to, or the ability to use Docker, the ability to use Python and script and do edge computing, right? And that's where you find our Gateway and our Inbox, our edge computer series. And then what most of you are pretty common with, our router vehicle side. Okay, this is industrial IoT, this is M2M products, industrial cellular routers, vehicle gateways, the stuff that most people know us for. So the CR series is more centric around connectivity. So this is where we're looking to launch portable routers that will enable people to get out of the office, a mobility style of product, but also focused on fixed wireless access and its functionality and its data plans, right? So I just wanted to provide that context because that is a very common question that people ask me. So with that said, lo and behold, the CR202, what so many of you have been waiting to join in and see about. So again, this product is InHand's solution to all those plethora of market problem sets we've seen, as far as in the ability to launch a cellular device, but that has a plethora of interfaces, multiple Ethernet, the ability to connect up and do inline failover, a battery, so when there's no power or when the power goes out, you have a network that still stays up. We kept in our security functionality because, again, you can't have a business router without security functionality such as firewalls and stuff. And then, of course, cloud management, which, by the way, is free. Again, anyone that knows Brian will probably run me down and remind me of that. But it is a free device management platform hosted on AWS right here in the United States. So again, if you want to manage your routers as a business, you want to reduce the IT workload, the support workload, right? This device supports it. So getting into a little bit of the features and also to show you that other side so you can see the 2 interfaces. As you can see, WAN and LAN, a power button to turn it on and off. Type-C is the power charging interface. That is not a data transmission, by the way. It's only for power. I'm sorry, there's a lot of requests for it, but for right now, it's just power, okay? The device supports 2 SIM cards, but there's 1 SIM card slot and 1 embedded SIM. Okay, so that way the embedded SIM, you just activate the IMEI like the old days with 3G, right? And then if you want to have another SIM card for it to fail over to, or to keep in as a backup for different networks in different areas, it's there, it's available to you. The battery that's in it, we'll get into a little bit further, 5,000 milliamps. I'll tell you what that means and why you should care. And again, it has internal Wi-Fi antennas and external SMA connectors for cellular antennas. Okay, so this is not a MiFi product. You can connect up antennas to deploy outside if you wanted to. Again, it's SMA, or you can use the antennas that come with it in a sitting environment. So let's talk about those features that I just roughed over. Okay, as far as interfaces, again, anything, anywhere, anytime is kind of the theme that they've got rolling around the CR202 for the launch. So it's a Cat 6 device, right? So that means you get a maximum speed of 300 Mbps down, right? And in real world conditions, most people are seeing between 30 to 70 Mbps, okay? With that said, there's also the ability to use one of the Ethernets to provide your network connectivity. And, we provide multi-link failover between those. There's also Wi-Fi that you can connect as well. So again, you have multiple options and multiple ways to fall back and forth, and you can use whatever type of network you want, from a wireless to a LAN to a WAN. It's all your preference. It's all based on your business needs. Okay, let's talk about the Wi-Fi for a second. I love some of the feature sets that we have on this product. Martin will tell you that supporting the right number of end devices is a critical piece. Wouldn't you agree, Martin?
Yeah, it's probably one of the most common questions I get on the routers, are how many devices can you connect to it at once?
Exactly. And this product supports 32 devices connected at the same time. Now, again, for MiFis, for other similar products, I don't know how many devices they support, but 32 connections over the Wi-Fi should enable you to connect almost anything you would need for that small business or that Soho environment. I mean, you can connect everything you want and you still have room left over for other devices. Okay. It's 802.11 BGNN, aka Wi-Fi 4, right? That means you can get, with the current Wi-Fi antennas on this device, it can match the speeds of the cellular up to 300 Mbps. Okay, so everything's matched to fit itself. And then, of course, if you are tired into a more of a business network, we do have, like the WPA2 certificates, so that way you can use, third-party authentication on user accounts to connect into the devices. So we do have the features that you're going to most often find in a traditional business network, and then the ability to support and an easy deployment, anything in that SMB side as well. The battery. Okay. This is the first InHand router product that comes with a battery, which I'm very excited about. It's a 5,000 milliamp battery. It has an 8-hour life endurance. Okay. And one of the nice things that we built into this was we built in on the board a way to protect the battery against overcharging, and also to enable the device, when the battery is not in use or dead, to still work if it's powered on. So it's not power to the battery to the board. It's power goes to the battery if it needs charged, and when the board detects that the battery's fully charged, then it will switch it straight over directly to the board. So that way you don't have to worry about killing your battery life by leaving it plugged in. That, again, we talked about that small office and home, right? And small office and home, 80% of the time, it's probably going to be powered up, sitting on your shelf near your computer, right? So again, it's not going to be degrading and destroying the battery. Another nice thing, it's in progress and happening, but we're also getting our battery UL certified as well. So safety has always been a premium standpoint for InHand, whether it be in the industrial space, the commercial space, or the consumer space. So a couple of things that you might not find with a lot of our competitors. High reliability design for carefree networks. Okay, I talked about this before, but I'm going to reemphasize it again. You have multi-link detection. So if you have a network that you can connect to, if you have a local network, plug it in, set the cellular up, and use it as a failover for those critical moments when it matters. Okay, again, some people refer to it as inline failover. You can call wherever you want, but it can fail between Wi-Fi to cellular, cellular to Ethernet, Ethernet to cellular, all the ways and above, and you can configure different ways for it to determine when and how you want it to do those failovers. It can also switch between the SIM cards as well, right? So you can have your two data plans, right? If you want to have so much data on one and fail over to another, or you can fail between different carriers. InHand's always been big about adding software and hardware watchdogs. For those of you who aren't familiar with InHand, it's one of our trademarks. We deploy specific chips on the board that essentially watch the firmware in the devices and look for abnormalities, and also look for abnormalities in the network connectivity. And that hardware, that watchdog, more or less, has the ability to act upon itself even when the firmware runs into an issue, sticks, or has a problem. So if you've ever deployed out computers or IT equipment, you say, well, yeah, run for 3 months and it got froze up, and you flip the power off and turn it back on and everything works. You don't really have to worry about that with InHand equipment, because again, we add in stuff such as the watchdog to make sure that the device is kind of taking care of itself, so it doesn't waste your time. Security and protection, I mentioned before. I'm not going to dig too deep into this, but again, we have anti-DOS, we have stateful packet inspection. For those of you familiar with some of these topics, you can do port mapping, DMZ, IP pass-through, again, MAC binding, all the most traditional stuff that you would find or expect to have in a router at an end location in a business. Okay. And then traffic management. So you say, Ken, you talked about the device management platform. Whoa. Let's hold it there for a second. Whoa, I'll get to that in a minute. The reason why I pull up this slide to talk about traffic thresholds, periods, days and months, alarming on how much data is being used, is not only can you get that from our free device management platform, but the device itself has this functionality built in it. So if you have a platform or you have a file transfer server, if you have something and you say, hey, InHand, instead of using your platform, right, maybe there's another place that I want to pull data to. Again, you can use the local APIs on this device to pull this traffic stuff into the current systems you're using. But the free device management platform is fantastic to use. It's free forever. This isn't a promotional period. It's one of our staples. It's built in as part of our products. The free device management platform I mentioned, you can manage firmware, config files, uptime, downtime, alarming, user accounts, multi-level layers, so you can have your account and sub accounts under you. It provides pretty much anything you need to manage InHand routers and equipment. It's a great product. It does so many things that you need as an IT manager without all the workload that comes in. And again, when I say that you can do firmware and config files, I mean not just one at a time, but you can do them in batch. You can do up to 10, 20,000 at a time. So far more than what the average user is going to need, but it's there. And last I talked with one of my tech guys, I think an account will support at least up to 100,000 devices. So again, this will be more than anything you need that carries on forever. And by the way, it's free. So, use it, get it set up. If you don't like it, you're not paying for it, right? It'll save you so much time and energy. Wouldn't you agree, Martin?
Yeah, and what everyone's been telling us too, their device manager is relatively easy to use too compared to competitors as well.
Exactly. And I don't really know of that many competitors that provide a free platform management service. So it's one of our staples. You use it, I guarantee you'll love it. All right, with that said, now that I've covered a little bit about the product and stuff, Martin, why don't you go ahead and tell them a little bit about the ordering guide, the parts and the components and everything else?
Sure. So this is going to be an easy plug and play product. And when we say easy plug and play, it's going to be a complete out of the box solution. So if you want to show the part numbers here, Ken, this here is going to be the part number for ordering this guy. CR202 NAC6 WLAN B for Wi-Fi and battery. Depending on volume, we can disable Wi-Fi or different battery options, but that's going to be volume dependent from you guys. And the accessories that come with this.
And before that, Martin, just as a cheat, I throw this out there because I always promise Brian that whenever I do a speaking event or I talk with anyone, I give them the little cheats and the little know-hows about the part numbers, because we all know CR202 NAC6-WLAN-B. That's a mouthful, and take you a little bit to remember what all that means. But here's the cheat on this product. In the NAC6, that means North America Cat 6. Okay, so in the future, when we come out with more CR202 products and part numbers and features, that's your little cheat. Back to you.
And since this is like I was saying, an out of the box solution, it's actually going to come with 2 4G cellular antennas that are going to come inside the box with it. It's going to come with that USB Type-C power adapter, 1 Ethernet cable, and it's even going to come with a mounting bracket as well, which we'll show you what that looks like here on the next slide here. So this is what's going to look like out of the box and the different types of mounting bracket that it'll come with.
I actually really like this mounting bracket design. For those of you who've used some of our other products like the 302 or the 305, traditionally we come with a DIN rail mount, which in this type of environment, I suspect nobody will use. Okay. And the other one we normally provided was 2 little wall mount wings that you would screw onto each side and mount onto a wall or into a flat surface. It would hold fine, but the fact that this product, you can put the mount and then you can just pull the router, click it in and out, because again, it is a portable product. I think it adds a lot of functionality to the design and, really carries on how it was intended to be used. Back to you, Martin.
All right, and if you guys have seen our other packaging, you know how bland and boring. It's just in a very commercial, standard brown cardboard box. So this one's going to be a bit more package friendly and more consumer friendly with some more brighter visuals available. So this is just the front and the back of it and what to expect on it. And these are going to come in a big container like this here. You're going to get 24 of them in a carton. So they'll be stacked up just like this.
24. And then as Martin mentioned, if you look to the left, you can kind of see how it's laid out. You open the box from top to bottom. It has a plastic inlay. You have the CR202 product, the Ethernet cable, and everything lined up in that packaging. And like Martin said, 24 to a carton.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you, Martin. With that said, at this point, we'll go ahead and touch in on the Q&A side of the house. All right, Q&A. Herb Hunter. All right, Mr. Hunter, from one hunter to another, I'd be happy to answer your question. Can you use the external SIM instead of the eSIM? That is correct. You can use either one. You're going to use either one, or you can use both. Either way, it doesn't matter. When you log into the device, you'll be able to simply select which SIM that you want. SIM 1, I believe, is the eSIM. SIM 2 would be whatever you put in the external SIM slot. All right. Jeremy Hopkins, to make sure, is the 32 device limit the aggregate over Ethernet and Wi-Fi, or just over Wi-Fi? So to my understanding, the limitation of 32 is what it would be the limitation of performance for devices on Wi-Fi. So again, you're looking at technically what would be a 300 megabyte per second pipe in from that Cat6 device. In reality, we know that realistically looks like 50 to 70 Mbps. So extending it past 32 devices, you're going to start to see a lapse in performance. All right. Also, Mr. Hopkins, will the eSIM be supplied in an ASN file upon order and or barcode with the product? So traditionally, when people order our products from the factory, we have a file that will include, the SIM card number if one is pre-installed, such as this one. And we'll also have the IMEI devices and everything you need. So technically, you could activate them before you actually receive them. What is the battery chemistry? To my understanding, I believe it's lithium ion. Let me check real quick here. I'll definitely check with my tech team and get back to you, but I'd put about 89% positive that it's lithium ion. Does the device support both 5.09 and, I think you meant to say 5 and 2.4 gigahertz? Again, this product is simply for Mr. Brian East, it's simply Wi-Fi 4, so it's just 2.4 gigabytes. Or gigahertz, excuse me. Been out of the IT world a little too long. What is the benefit of internal Wi-Fi antennas? Again, the benefit of the internal Wi-Fi antennas is, again, it means less antennas, less space, especially, with this product, if you are using it in a mobile fashion, it just simplifies the usage of the product. It's ideally the way this product was envisioned and designed was intended to be relatively close to the equipment that you're using. So more or less, that's what the product managers told me on the design. All right, does it support cell band lock-in? That one I'm not 100% sure on, Michael. Martin, if you'll make a note on that, we can check with the tech team. I'm sure that's probably going to be a little more technical than we're going to get into here. What is the benefit of internal Wi-Fi? We talked about with Brian East. And then Kim, using the LAN port, max speed is going to be 100 megabytes, not 300. And that's correct. It isn't gigabyte Ethernet ports. It's simply 10 by 100. Okay, also, is the eSIM dedicated to a specific carrier? So currently right now, talking on certifications for this product. So this product has finished, I believe, PTCRB. I'll have to check on that one. And it is Verizon ODI certified. So for right now, the eSIMs are set up to support Verizon. And once we've finished our certification for AT&T and T-Mobile, the eSIM will be able to support all three carriers. MSRP. Good question, Brian. Ken, how could you give a presentation on a product and not talk about how much it costs, right? Manufacturers today. MSRP on this product is $229 USD. Right. Other questions? Okay, much appreciated. So what I got from here, I do still, Martin, make a note, we still do owe a response back on the cell band lock-in. Okay, so Michael, we'll get that back to you after this webinar is over. Okay.
Yep, I've already sent all these questions to the Ming as well, so I'll have an answer very quickly.
Awesome. All right. If there's no other questions, I give you a couple more seconds if there's anything else you think of. Stock number and time frames. Brian, you got a lot of good questions today. So some of our initial front run samples, we're expecting some to come in probably within the next 1 to 2 weeks. I know they've shipped, so I'm just waiting to get them on hand. Our tech team will go through and do a QA check on them, and then we'll be able to start getting out at least some very, very small numbers of samples out to those who have already reached out, asked for them, pre-ordered them and such. After that, we're looking at the first batch of largest shipments should be arriving around, I believe, the 3rd to 4th week of the month. First week of the following month at most, and then we have another large stocking order that's riding behind that one 2 to 3 weeks. All right, Herb, can a customer replace the battery on their own? So ideally, the way that casing is made on this, it's called a soft enclosure. So we actually set up a program at InHand to allow for replacement of the battery with us, because we don't want you to damage the enclosure trying to replace the battery. And that service is $30 to replace the battery. And I'm glad you brought this up, Herb. The warranty on the product itself is 3 years. So all of our routers come standard with a 3-year warranty. However, the battery that we buy only comes with a 1-year warranty. And like I said, we offer the ability to replace it, have the battery replaced out for $30. Okay, Kim, could we connect an external battery just like a pocket juice using USB-C connector? Correct. You certainly can. It's a USB. The USB on the device is specifically for power in. So however you want to connect power up to it, even if it was like, one of those small power packs in a case, you could most certainly do that. Jeremy, about the battery, is it custom fit like a MiFi, or is it an aftermarket shrink wrap set of cells? That one I don't know, because I'm to be honest, Jeremy, I haven't actually seen inside it. So Martin, put that question down so we can get that sent in. I do know that the supplier we use for these batteries, I believe I heard the product manager tell me that we selected them because they're one of the larger manufacturers, particularly for cell phones. And even though we only offer a year warranty on the battery itself, the product works without the battery. And the batteries, from what we've been given as far as data on the batteries, they should actually last between 3 to 5 years. And then you only see a percentage of degradation on the battery each year after the first. Yeah, lots of good questions. All right, any more questions? I love answering questions. So again, anything you guys have, you're always welcome to ask. Okay, if there's no other questions, or if you have questions after this is over, feel free to reach out to any of your InHand personnel. Our connectors for the antennas the same as the CR202. Yes, Kim, that's standard SMA connectors. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, Jeremy, what did you mean by battery options earlier? I think what I was referencing when I mentioned that, Jeremy, is the fact that the battery supplier that we purchase from, primarily the options they offer are mostly built for cell phones. And then as far as options that InHand offers is if you need to get a battery replaced, I believe I was told it would be $30. You could send the device back in, and then we could replace the battery. Also, in the part number, as Martin mentioned, you can order this product. You could technically order it without a battery. Okay. Any other questions? Awesome. Well, as I said, again, if you have more questions, feel free to send them in. If you want even more detail than Ken can give you, again, we're always happy to schedule time with some of our techs to go over it, to go over the design. And hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we'll actually have some samples for some people to get their hands on. Just reach out, talk with the InHand rep, and then see what's available for purchase or to get your hands on. What SIM card size are required? And one more is the Wi-Fi enabled by default, unlike the IR series. Excellent questions. SIM card size, Martin, do you remember? I believe looking at the product, it was a 4FF. I'm going to cheat for a second here and go back.
Yeah, I was just trying to go back to, I don't really remember that either.
Yeah, I believe it's a 4FF SIM card slot. Yeah, make a note of that to provide to Jeremy, excuse me, to Michael. Yeah, because I know a lot of our newer products had started coming out with nanos, so it's definitely something I would want to know before I received one. Is the Wi-Fi enabled by default, unlike the IR series? I think for our standard stock production, InHand has always left Wi-Fi disabled unless requested otherwise, because just for security purposes, right? If you're going to deploy out a piece of equipment and someone doesn't know the Wi-Fi is turned on, not using it, that's just an additional interface that could become vulnerable. So if you're needing devices with the Wi-Fi enabled, you can just let us know before we ship them out. And most oftentimes, especially if it's coming from the factory, we can have configurations preloaded. We can have stuff enabled against the normal standards. You just have to ask. Okay. All very, very good questions. And as I mentioned, Martin has been collecting down the questions to provide out to our tech team for anything that didn't get answered, and to have email back to you or a phone call made. So again, if you have other questions, if tomorrow you wake up and you go, oh my gosh, I remember this question, it's really important, just give us a call. We're more than happy to answer any questions that you might have. With that said, if there's no other questions, I'd like to thank all of you for attending this webinar. And I'm very excited that we can finally provide you guys with the CR202, like many of you have already been requesting for us to produce. So thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to the next time we talk.
Thank you everyone for attending.